Joining us now, another guy that's with me. He's all about jobs. House of Delegates member Glenn Davis. He's also from Virginia Beach. He's a Republican, and he's running for lieutenant governor in 2017. That, my friends, will be decided in a primary, not a convention, in June of 2017. And so far, there are three candidates officially running for lieutenant governor on the Republican side: Senator Jill Vogel, Senator Bryce Reeves, and Glenn Davis, House of Delegates member in his mellow yellow van, which is seen all over the place. Delegate Davis, good to have you with us.
Morning, John. Glad to be with you.
Let's start. Yesterday, your Speaker of the House, Speaker Bill Howell, had sued Governor McAuliffe for his initiative to allow 13,000 felons to give them the restoration of the right to vote. And basically what Bill Howell said is, this is no different when the Supreme Court said that his 210,000 blanket, I guess, whatever you want to call it, voting amnesty for felons was unconstitutional. All he did was reduce the number to 13,000. I was shocked because I thought it was pretty clear based on the original ruling of the Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago, but they ruled in McAuliffe's favor. So it seemed to be inconsistent. What was your read on that?
Well, I agree with you. Not being an attorney, but the intent of the law is clear. Governors are allowed to restore voting rights, but the expectation and the intent of the law is that they do it on a per-person basis, per-case basis, through the proper amount of due diligence. That's what every governor has always done, whether it be Tim Kaine or Bob McDonnell, except until we get to Terry McAuliffe. And then, of course, Terry tries to do a huge chunk in lump sum with 200,000 felons. He realizes, oops, I didn't realize who was inside that group. And the Republicans took him to court. We won. We brought justice in and stopped people from getting their rights back that arguably should not, and some of them were still in jail. So then he decides to do it, just like you said, in a smaller batch. And I think this is a no-brainer for us, but the courts felt differently. But I'll tell you, all the due diligence that Terry McAuliffe has done is basically just ensure that there's ink in his pen. Mm-hmm. It really flies in the face of the intent of the law. And on top of that, it really kind of takes away something from those individuals that deserve to have the rights back. In the past, all those individuals that have gotten their voting rights back had done so knowing that there was strict review of them, of the situation, and the governor actually signing off because he felt and believed that they had turned the corner in their life and were ready to be part of society and be part of that process again. And I think the governor's even robbed them of this because now, it's nothing but a scam to try to get Hillary in office.
The way the Supreme Court ruled against his 210,000 kind of blanket restoration of rights for all felons was that, the law states clearly that you have to review each file and make a decision based on, some kind of a review. And whether it be 213,000 or 13,000, he basically used the same process. Now, I'm for restoring rights. I just want to be within the law. So I was really surprised at the ruling yesterday because I thought after they ruled the first time and said that the first initiative of the governor was unconstitutional, I really couldn't see how they would not rule the same way with the second time because he did the same thing. He just changed the number.
Right. And I was thinking the same thing, John. I think our caucus was as well, kind of surprised. And regardless, whatever the court decided, there's no doubt that the governor just really shirked, I think, his responsibilities in performing due diligence on a case-by-case basis and kind of undermining what this process was supposed to be.
All right, now look, we've got 57 days before the November election. There's no U.S. Senate race in Virginia, no governor's race. That'll come in 2017 and then 2018 for U.S. Senate if Clinton doesn't win. So you guys are running for office. You got three candidates now. Somebody put a forum on the other day. I just got to tell you, any Republican club or committee that would put a forum on for a 2017 race 55 days or 60 days before what I think is going to be one of the most critical elections in our republic's history in a state that basically could determine the outcome. Virginia, one poll now is showing that it's tightening here. I mean, wouldn't that time be a lot better spent by everybody focusing in on November 8th, 2016 and trying to get Trump elected rather than go around and talk about lieutenant governors' races 12 months out?
Well, John, the group you're talking about was last night. It was an independent, nonpartisan group, the Old Dominion Contractors Association. It was their annual conference, and it was they decided to have a hour-long lieutenant governor forum as part of their conference. If they didn't have it then, they wouldn't be able to have it till this time next year, which obviously is after the primary. So it wasn't a Republican group that put it on that, like you said, may have had been spending their time better working for the November 16 elections. I will tell you, however, I'm out there and everywhere I go, I talk about how important it is that we continue to control Washington and get the White House back. And but I think things have started really quick. Even the fundraising, we self-funded up until about a month ago, but my opponents are out there raising tons of funds. So we've had the joint. I do believe that you need to be careful, and we need to make sure that we get things right in 16, because as lieutenant governor and whoever happens to be governor, we don't need to be hitting our head up against a Washington that still is overextending their executive powers and causing problems for us at the state level. So I'm involved in 16. I think that's where the focus is right now. When we go around on Mellow Yellow across the Commonwealth, we're doing three things. The first thing we're doing is we're talking about the unique challenges and opportunities of every part of the Commonwealth, because I've said time and time again, I'm running to make Virginia number one again for business and job growth. And the only way you do that is to understand the unique challenges and opportunity of all places across the Commonwealth. The second thing we're doing is we're making sure that people are ready for 2016 and letting them know how important that is. And for me, the message is the same. I'm running in 17 because we're losing the American dream, the ability to go out and create something for yourself and your family and hopefully that next generation. Be that entrepreneur and create a business and create jobs that's fallen through our fingertips. And that same strangulation of the American entrepreneur at the state level is what's happening in Washington. So my message works in 16 and 17. And then the third thing, obviously, is to also let people know about our race and then what's going to be happening in 17 right on the backside of 16. In Virginia, we have a unique and a great state to the extent that every year we've got an election going on.
I know, that does make it interesting. Glenn, Terry McAuliffe has touted himself as the all-time jobs governor of Virginia. You're running on a platform for lieutenant governor to increase business opportunities in Virginia, to increase jobs beyond what Terry McAuliffe has done. Give us a couple examples of how Glenn Davis's policies for job creation in Virginia would be different from those being implemented right now by Governor McAuliffe.
Well, first and foremost, the governor's trying to bring jobs or grow jobs here, but he's not changing the problems that are actually stopping that from organically. The governor's throwing a lot of money to try to get people here. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't take us throwing money at a company. It's reforming our tax code. We have a situation in Virginia where, we actually double tax companies that sell their services across state lines. And those companies are actually leaving Virginia and going to North Carolina, D.C., Maryland. We have the 30th worst tax policies in the nation. So the answer isn't to go and throw money at companies and try to get them to come here because we have such bad tax policies. It should be, let's fix the tax policies and actually have Virginia end up on the short list of places for them to come to begin with. Additionally, I appreciate the governor trying to, look like we're creating jobs, but when you start having legislation pop through where you give incentives to companies, and you say they're creating jobs, but you allow them to account the same number of employees they have at one facility in the state. But I think we've got a governor that believes that you count 50 new jobs when you allow a company to count them as new employees at another facility. And at that point, all you're doing is shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Okay, so what you're saying is that McAuliffe is going out and singularly targeting certain businesses, giving them tax incentives, inducing them to come here through his Economic Opportunity Fund and other things he does through whatever tax incentives and other business incentives that he can offer. Not all of them worked out. There was one company they gave $1 million to, and that never materialized, but mistakes are going to happen. But what you're saying is what you want to do is change the law in Virginia to such that you don't have to go out and give incentives to individual companies, that the overall laws in Virginia, the tax laws, would be such that companies, you wouldn't have to manipulate things for each of them. You would create an environment for the Commonwealth, for every business that would want to relocate in Virginia. Is that my understanding?
It is. And John, not just for companies that want to locate here, but even those for that already are here. We need to make sure we have a level playing field. And that means you don't buy some companies to come in to compete with other companies. You create a playing field. Companies want to come to Virginia. And when they do, they're competing on the same level as people that are here and that will come here in the future. Mm-hmm. And you do that by reforming our tax code. And that's what we've been about. Heck, that's what we've been about since I got in the General Assembly. That's what our campaign's about. And it's pretty simple. I've been around the Commonwealth of Virginia now since April 1st. We've got over 16,000 miles on an RV, and it's pretty obvious what the problem is. It's not that we got to, revitalize anything. It's not that we got to have the state do anything to help or pay anything to help. We need to unleash the potential of Virginians, and you do that by getting government out of the way. You get rid of these overburdensome tax regulations. You get rid of these overburdensome tax and fee policies. And then let Virginians do what they do best. And that's what Americans have been doing since our country was founded. And that's innovate and create opportunities for themselves, others, future generations. But when you look at what's been transpiring, we've been adding more regulations. We don't have a 21st century economy. We have one based on the 1950s and 60s, well before the Internet. And if we can just get government out of the way, I think we're going to see Virginians will do the rest. And once again, we'll have the best state in the nation for business and job growth.
All right, I got to take off. I want to thank Glenn Davis for being with us. More information, go to glennrdavis.com, glennrdavis.com. Thanks for being with us.